You know what's always been so interesting to me is that you will see folks make arguments about God in the Bible, and from an Old Testament perspective, they will say, well, why would I want to follow someone who wiped out a whole nation of people? Why would I want to follow and believe in a God who's now supposed to be all love, but the things that he did in the Old Testament toward the Gentiles and the enemies of Israel? And mind you, I'm speaking about the Old Testament, okay? The New Testament is something different. I know a lot of folks don't believe that Israel is who they really say they are nowadays, and that's not what I'm talking about. But what I find interesting is that no one talks about the atrocities that these enemies of the people of God in the Old Testament, before Jesus came to earth, the things they were getting into. And again, even in the Old Testament, I'm not completely wiping off the things that the children of Israel were doing, because they were also partaking in idolatry and witchcraft and all these dark rituals, and they were doing all types of heinous acts as well. But let's not wipe out the witchcraft, the human sacrificing, the sacrificing of their own children, right? Let's not forget about that. Let's not forget about the cannibalism and all of the dark arts that they were partaking in and the things that they were pushing off upon God's chosen at that time. So when folks like to say, oh, well, I don't want to worship God because he was wiping out whole nations of people, I just think that is a way for folks to have a cop out for simply just not wanting to observe the teachings of the Bible. How would you feel if human sacrifices were taking place in your neighborhood? Genuinely, how would you feel if you knew that a few blocks over from your house, from where you lived, human sacrifices were taking place? Cannibalism was taking place, and you lived right next to it. I don't think you would be too calm. So there is a reason why God gave his chosen at that time to drive out the people in the land, to get rid of them, to push them away with force, with warfare, because that type of activity could not exist near the promised land where God had his kingdom to be set up on earth and where he wanted all nations to come to Jerusalem. Now, like I said, I know a lot of people look at this in a more modern sense with the things that's taking place in the Middle East. Let this be one more disclaimer. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about the Old Testament and why God had to get rid of those people who were obstructing his plan, because the things that they were getting into, only one could call them demonic, and that's what they were.